How many people are you expecting?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
How many people are you expecting?
Okay, so in the leadership chat that I have, it's 37 people. Some people did message me already today and say they have church tonight. So I'm like, all right, well, y'all gonna miss it. Okay, so we'll get started really quick. Hey guys, it's me, Khalesia Simmons. And tonight we have our amazing, for our Game Changers leadership call, we have an amazing Ambassador Diamond who I have like seriously been stalking since I found out who she was in the business. And I love her story because it's completely opposite of mine, totally different, but I can still use it to help other people and bring people into the business. What I want to definitely do tonight is give you guys the opportunity to hear it straight from her, because I know a lot of you haven't been to any of the One Team One Missions where she's been, so you haven't really heard the background of the story, or maybe you haven't been at a conference where she spoke, but it's definitely something you want to know, because you're going to run into a lot of people who have similar stories, and you're going to be able to reference her. So and then in closer to the end of the call, we're going to give everybody a chance to ask questions and kind of get some tips. I actually have a question for myself, so I'm excited, and I'm going to let Alena go ahead and take over, introduce herself, and tell us a little bit about herself and how this business fell into her lap, and some of the beginning stories.
Okay, awesome. So thanks guys for having me on tonight. I have my 2-month-old with me, so if she starts getting fussy, I'll kind of just be like bouncing around here. So apologies in advance. I have been with It Works for 4 years now. I started April of 2013. And I was definitely one of those people where It Works found me, because there was really no reason why I should have found out about this company other than the grace of God. I didn't know anyone in it. I had never heard of the product. It just literally came across my timeline, some before and after pictures. Prior to those pictures coming across my timeline, I was working as a Wall Street analyst up in New York City. That was pretty much my dream job. My entire life, I had prepared to get a career in that field. I went on to get my bachelor's and master's in finance, and I took a role with JP Morgan in their private bank, which is serving ultra high net worth individuals. So meaning you have to have at least a $25 million net worth to even get our smallest portfolio. And so, I got to this job and was loving it, honestly, for the first 2 years. My internships were amazing. It was a crazy life. I got to work at 7, never left before midnight. But if you have a passion for the markets and you like doing, high strung things, it definitely gives you a rush. And I had that for the first 2 years, but I think like many people, sometimes we get into our dream jobs and realize that that dream may just be temporary, or that as we evolve and become or mature, we find things more important than they are in our 20s. So that was kind of what was happening to me. This whole concept of work-life balance, which really doesn't exist in any field, just definitely didn't exist in that field. And I just honestly felt like, as much as I had kind of forced myself to be this square, I was really a circle. And so I had to figure out what was going to be next for me, because I was at a point in my career where it was kind of like you leave now or you stay and you never leave, because the money gets so good and you create a lifestyle that you really can never walk away, because there's nothing else out there outside of entrepreneurship that pays like investment banking. So I was at this place in my career where I was getting ready to get promoted, and most people would have stayed. But for me, I just kept feeling this tug of there's something more out there for you. You have another purpose in life. Didn't know what it was. But what ended up happening was I really just started asking God, like, what is it? Like, what is this gut feeling that I have that there's something more? And a lot of times, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And one of my girlfriends, she actually decided to start her own cosmetic company. We were sitting on my couch in Brooklyn. Actually, I was living in Harlem at the time. And she was like, I think I'm about to start making lipstick. I'm like, all right, cool. So after she decided to launch her company, she asked me to run her sales department and help her launch her business throughout the different cities here in the U.S. And, you know, it's very difficult to watch one of your closest friends take a mere idea that you were there for and turn it into a global brand that's now sold in Target, Forever 21. You know, it's been featured on all different types of talk shows. And then, you know, have that fire lit in you and be a part of something like that, and then just go back to your 9 to 5 working in Excel spreadsheets and just kind of like, oh, well, that was cool. And so that experience was kind of my first real taste of entrepreneurship. And it's interesting because I don't know how many of you all were Girl Scouts, but I was actually a Girl Scout my entire life. I'm actually a lifetime member. But for the highest award in Girl Scouting, you have to do like a project. And my project was on entrepreneurship. I had brought in all these different entrepreneurs, and I really knew in my spirit that that's what I wanted to do. And so I was like completely thrown off track when I started being blinded by the safety of a corporate check. And it was almost like these things that I had thought about doing before, I just completely forgot about them until my last year in corporate America, when my mom sent me a picture of my gold award project, and she was like, this has always been in you, like you should really go for it. And so I decided to just take the leap of faith and go out and start working on some ventures. So I know people are like, well, what did you do? So prior to me leaving my company, I had already launched my first iPhone app. I was working on the Lip Bar full time, which is my friend's company. And a lot of the things that we were doing were just starting to get to a place where they couldn't grow unless we had more freedom of time. So I didn't know anything about It Works when I left my job. It was just pure craziness, you know. Was like, look, I'm about to set a number to pay my bills for the next 6 months. I'm about to move back home with my mom and just like grind it out. And I think that my faith was really rewarded for taking that leap, because a month after I left my job with nothing, It Works came across my lap. Didn't think it was going to be much of anything. Saw the product, saw that for virtually the same cost, I could put myself in a position to make money. I thought, why not? I just quit my job. I could use any extra cash. If this product actually works, everybody that I know will want it anyway. Became a distributor, made $500 online on Instagram, just selling individual wraps. And that was within my first week. Within my first 5 months, I had replaced my 6-figure income that I was making with JP Morgan. And that, to me, was that moment where everything shifted. I was like, man, like this is a real thing. This is a real industry. People are making real cash, including me. I really need to understand, get a better idea. Because honestly, those first 5 months, I was just ignorance on fire. I was just working. I was excited. I believed in the product. But once I saw people like Ronessa and Irena making $40,000, $80,000 a month, I was like, this is my little pennies. 6K ain't nothing compared to this. You know, how do I get to the top? And so I started studying the industry. I started reading books the same way I used to read books about Wall Street and investment banking. I became really a student of this industry. And that's really how I am now. A lot of people have asked me, like, you know, what has changed? What got you to top 10? And I think it's just continuing to be a student in the business and perfecting my craft. And what's interesting is that, unlike my previous career, perfecting your craft in investment banking means becoming more technical, becoming smarter, becoming this, becoming that. And in this industry, it's about stripping everything and becoming as simple as possible. It's about mastering simplicity and duplication. And I honestly feel like that is what has allowed me to grow my business significantly. Really, last year, this year, you're seeing the profits of last year. And last year is where I really just started working on creating a truly duplicatable process, where not only could I make a lot of money, but so could my team.
Perfect. Okay. So one of the things that I definitely wanted to hear from you, and I know everybody else also wanted to hear, because you have this prestigious, very prestigious on a, I guess you would say, across the board background, career-wise. So ideally, I think that the majority of people, when they run into someone who would have been you, they feel like it's unapproachable. Well, they work on Wall Street or they're in corporate America. They already make six figures. They don't need this little $500 a month. But I think you said something that was very important, was deep down inside, even though you had worked so hard to get into Wall Street, there was still other things that you wanted to do. What would you say would be the best or the most effective way, or even if it's somebody that's just a Ruby that comes up to someone who could just be like, okay, I'm thinking about entrepreneurship, but really I work at Wall Street, or really I'm working for, this corporate company, Sprint, whatever the case may be. What would be the approach that you think would be the most effective for a person to gain a leader like you that's already professionally stable?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, because I think that what's interesting about It Works, and this was one of my very first aha moments, was when I went to boot camp in Seattle. And, when I first, like my team in general, like our team, like Ronnie's downline, her first couple of presidentials and ambassadors, they're very poised. They're gorgeous. They all look like they're dripping in Gucci and gold, and they're all like super skinny and fly. So I thought that was like It Works. I was like, man, you got to be like, glam team to be like making coins in this business. And so when I went to Seattle, I was like shocked to see that was not It Works. Like It Works is literally like t-shirts, jeans, flip-flops. I sold everything that I own to like buy my kit. So many people come from different walks of life. And at that moment, I realized, wow, like this company does not discriminate. Like it doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter if you have a degree, if you have multiple degrees, if you got kids, if you don't have kids, if you Black, white, Asian, wherever you live, like there is an equal opportunity for everyone. Because literally there's every single story out there. And so when I think about the people that can be successful in this business, if people want it and they're hungry for it, regardless of background, they can get to the top, right? So I don't even necessarily say, oh, I want to go find my next Alena, because they may not have the same background as me, because what's interesting is that every single person has an excuse as to why they are not successful, right? So someone like me, like I have a lot of girls on my team who have similar pedigree as me. They went to school, the same school as me. They, worked in professional jobs. They made six figures. And their excuse, is, oh, well, a lot of them deal with this whole ego of, I don't want my friends to know like I'm doing this, right? Or they deal with this whole consciousness of their degrees that not, they didn't work this hard to be like out here selling rap. So they deal with that complex. Then I have other people on my team that don't have degrees, and they feel like, oh, because I don't have this degree or this background, I can't be successful. So it's like, regardless of background, if people gonna come up with excuses, they're gonna come up with excuses regardless, but at the same time, someone who wants it is gonna want it regardless. I don't know if you all know Fallon Rice, my second presidential actually. She, was great background, CPA, master's, but she was drowning in debt. And so statistics show that most people on average are 1 to 2 paychecks away from poverty, regardless of what they're making. Because even if you're making six figures, most times, just like your check grows, your expenses grow, right? So there are rarely people that could not use extra. And so when we put it in this perspective of knowing the people that are hungry and the people that are wanted are going to want it regardless of their background, because, we all have like this certain thing in us if you really want it. And the people that are going to make excuses at that time, regardless of background, are going to make excuses. So you really got to find the person who's ready to work, because you can have people that are excellent, right? I have some girlfriends who I have friend who is a senior executive at Pepsi. She is a connector, which means she knows everybody. She'll introduce you to everybody. She's great at relationships. She would be the perfect candidate for this business. I prospected her. I've, done parties with her. She was one of my first distributors, did nothing. 3 years later, came back, decided to join again, did nothing. And, you would think that she would be the perfect candidate, but it's just not her time. So I think that when you are going out and looking for people, number one, you got to pray the right people into your business. Because, in your mind, you may think this is how they got to look on the outside. But a lot of that stuff can also bring insecurity that makes them unsuccessful in this business. And that's what I found with a lot of my colleagues. People think, oh, you have this poised background. And I do think that, some of the work that I put in outside of it works helps propel my business, right? So I always tell my team that what you see day one in terms of someone's success in it works is going to depend on their backstory, right? So you can have a blogger who for the last 5 years has been building their following. They built trust with their audience, and the day that they decide to do it works, they get, to Ruby in 2 days. But if you have a stay-at-home mom like my sister who's been raising kids the last 10 years, doesn't really have a network, doesn't really have influence, it's going to take her a little longer. Can she still get to the same place as the blogger? Yes. But she got to put some skin in the game, because guess what? The blogger has been working the market and working the networks and working the relationship for 5 years. And the stay-at-home mom just has not done that yet. So it's like with the law of economics, you can't cheat it. You got to put in the work. Everybody has to put in the same work. It just may be at different phases in your life. So for me, all of the networking that I did, pre-Wall Street, all the networking that I did on Wall Street, all of the relationships I built in college, all of the grades that I had to attain to get to college, like all of the efforts the last 30 some odd years of my life led up to who I was the day that I joined It Works, and that impacted the speed of my success. And so that's why it's so important that we don't look left and right, because everyone's backstory, will impact where they can go, but we can all still get there. So I think that it's important that when you're looking for qualities, more than anything, you want to look for a positive person, regardless of background. You want to look for someone who is going to be coachable, someone that's not a know-it-all, somebody that, everyone cares a little bit what people think, but they're at a place where people's opinion is not going to trump their work ethic because they want it that bad. And you really got to look for people that are uncomfortable. You got to look for people that are not in a position that they want to be, and they're so uncomfortable that they're willing to put in the work. Because I have a lot of team members right now that, they do make decent money and they don't work hard, because they know they're going to eat. But then I have some people on my team who, if they don't make this work, it ain't going to work. Life is going to fall apart. And those are the people that, have helped me take this business to the top, because we want more from life. And all of our bank accounts look very different, when we started. Okay. And I know that was like several answers to what you just asked me, but I think so much of it is relevant.
No, I think that's perfect. I think the key thing that you said that was like perfect, exactly what I needed to hear too, was that it's important to understand people's backstory and being able to gauge their possible speed, because like you said, the blogger jumps in, they've already built a social media following, whereas the stay-at-home mom doesn't. And I think that's really, really important. I think as leaders, sometimes we get frustrated with people because we're like, what do you mean you only got 332 friends on Facebook? You need 4,000. And then we're frustrated and flustered with the people that we're bringing into the business. And then also our expectation kind of intimidates them at some point, depending on their personality type. And that can be stressful.
I actually talked about this on my team training on Wednesday. I feel like I worked my hardest my first year in the business, but yet I didn't get to top 10 until 4 years, because I, as a person and as a leader, had to grow. I had to learn how to help other people be successful. These are things that you don't wake up knowing. Like, this is a real industry, you know. That's just like in accounting. You don't wake up learning, you know, how to be an accountant. Like in network marketing, you have to give yourself time to become a leader, but then you have to give yourself your team time. So if this is a business where other people, like if somebody else has to get the presidential for you to get the ambassador, a presidential has to be a true leader. So if you expecting somebody to come in and just be awesome, it's unfair to them. And so a lot of times it's not what you're doing wrong. It's just that you're not waiting it out. You know, when I look at Black Diamonds, most of them didn't even hit, you know, that kind of money until their 7th, 8th year. I think about Denise Walsh, who has, you know, been at 1, 2, 3 for most of her career. She didn't even hit triple diamond until her 3rd year in the business. And we got girls hitting triple in 4 months, you know, but yet she's still Black Diamond. So a lot of it is just a waiting game of growing and knowing that as long as you're taking bites of the apple, eventually you will eat it all, you know. But many of us don't have patience, which is the difference, because, you know, as soon as we quit or we get frustrated, it's like we out. So.
Right. No, that's great. Okay. So I'm going to kind of shift the conversation a little bit. One of the things that we definitely want to hear from you too, what is the day in the life of Alena? What does it look like? What are you doing? I know you got a brand new baby, you have another baby, you have a son, you have your husband. So you got all these titles and hats that you have to wear, of course. And then of course you got to have time for yourself. Give us some insight on how you make this happen at your level in the business without going psychotically insane and stressed out.
Mm-hmm. My business works in seasons, so every season looks different for me. If I'm in a place in my business where, you know, I'm getting ready to go ambassador, I probably don't get to see my husband or my kids that much. So the day in the life looks like I'm on phone calls all day, I'm texting all day, I feel like I have carpal tunnel in my hand, I'm blitzing, you know, I'm hitting the streets, because and many of you, have you been in network marketing, or if you haven't, you know, figured this out yet, this business works in like 90-day spells. So meaning, like, you know, you do 90-day pushes and then you kind of like coast a little bit, then you do a 90-day push and then you coast, because in order for you to take it to the top, it really can't be like a dragging your feet thing. It has to be like huge momentum at one time, and then you hit your goal, and then, you know, you recuperate and you refresh and you get poured into and you spend time with your family, and then you go on another 90-day push. Any book that you read on network marketing will teach you that, which is why it's important to understand your industry so you know how to set your expectations. And so when I'm going through a 90-day push, my days, you know, I probably wake up early. My team does prayer calls. So I may be on that. I like to have something that really like gets me super pumped up. So I'm either reading something or I'm listening to some type of Les Brown. I have a few different ones that I listen to on repeat. John Maxwell is one of my favorites. Who else? Somebody else that I love, but I'm missing the name right now. Just anything that's like motivational that makes me realize like I have not arrived. I typically will go to that. And then from there, you know, I normally set my day the night before. So I'll focus on like, you know, what I'm going to work on, so that when it's time to go the next day, I'm not writing out my schedule. And that's a big thing for me, because if I have to spend the first hour figuring out what I got to do today, then I've like missed the whole day. And then I just hit the pavement. So sometimes it looks like me going to one-on-one appointments. A lot of times it's phone calls. So like normally for the day before, I have at least 3 phone calls set, either for prospects, with my team members, or whatever. And so I have at least a couple of calls set up throughout the day. I like to do my calls all at once, because if I spread them out throughout the day, then I find myself not being able to get anything done, because most stuff I can't do, you know, in a 30-minute window. And so if I have calls every hour, it's like I never have enough time to get what I need to get done. So I may have calls scheduled from 11 to 1, and then I have, you know, the rest of the day to actually do work. I do have set days. And once again, this is normally like when I'm like in heavy work mode. during my 90-day pushes. I may have certain days where I focus on one thing over the other. So like Thursdays are my 30-minute coaching calls with my team members. Just because if I'm in a coaching mode, it's just a different mindset and different energy that I have to bring to my team members versus prospects or follow-ups or whatever. So I have different days just because I think that they bring different energies, and that's just a personal thing. What else? Most of my, during the day, it's typically stuff that I need to do for myself. So it may be, if I need to do a new video or come up with a new training or come up with new ideas or go and work on a website or a landing page or something, because I do a lot of stuff online, or if I need to come up with some Instagram posts, I mostly do that kind of stuff during the day because most of my team is still working full time. So I work with them pretty much in the evening once my kids go to sleep. And so most of like my training calls, my follow-up calls, my 3-ways are after 7 p.m. and sometimes during the lunch hour because that's when people are also free. But then, outside of like those heavy months where I'm trying to promote or when my team is trying to promote, an average day, especially with a newborn and with a child, I work in power hours, and really that's more like half an hour. So Stephanie Dunn, she gave me this book called The Power of a Half Hour. And it just talks about how intentional we can be in a half hour. And so that's kind of, I have what I call my hit list, which means that when I do get a 20-30 minute break, I already know certain things that I can work on. I'm not trying to scramble to find stuff to do. And, that makes it where I'm very intentional about what I'm doing. This business does not, require 8 hours a day. Like on average, I bring in anywhere from 7 to 10 distributors a month. That's, on average. That's not a low or a high month. And most of the times, that's done with me working this business an hour to 2 hours a day. Like, not like anything crazy. It's just that when I do work, I'm doing things that are not fluff. Like, I'm literally messaging people. I'm not just posting. I'm messaging people, setting up conversations, or I'm talking to people, or I'm signing them up. If it's not a follow-up, if it's not a sign-up, if it's not a, introduction call, then everything else is really fluff. Or if it's not something that's leading into those income-producing activities. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I have some stuff that, basically I work in pretty much how It Works teaches us in thirds, yourself, your personal development, your business, and then like coaching your team and your retention of your business. Is kind of like the 3 things that I focus on.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do some questions. I'm going to start with Jocelyn since she's the first person on my screen. Jocelyn, do you have a question for Alena?
Again on the call. My question is, like, what do you do for like team building? Do y'all have activities or, just to get the team to bond and grow together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. So my team is like huge now, so it looks a little different. But back in the day, I used to have my team over my house all the time. We used to do sample parties together every Wednesday, which was kind of a time for us to get to know each other, but also build the business. I used to do promotion parties every month. Which is just kind of like where we celebrate small and big wins at the house. Now that my team has gotten much bigger, I can't do things with the entire team anymore. So I focus more on my personally enrolled team. So once a month, I do what I call Wine Down Wednesdays. And that basically is where I provide wine and like snacks and my personally enrolled team and all of the diamonds and above in Atlanta, even if they're not personally enrolled, they come to my house. And it's a work session. Like, I rarely do stuff that we're not working, because it's like, at the end of the day, like, we're not trying, this is not the Babysitters Club. You know what I mean? Like, I got a million friends. I don't need friends. I need business partners that we may become friends. So most times if I'm doing any kind of social activity, it does involve work. If anytime that it's not work related, most of the times it's like when we're traveling. So like if we do, like I encourage my team to get to events. So I normally have a pretty good turnout at like conference and green carpet. So those are the opportunities for us to really just like bond and let down our hair, not doing work for those 2 or 3 days. But other than that, you know, I do stuff at my house to kind of just build the trust. But I think that people like to see how other people work, you know, so they appreciate having working events that are not as formal as a training, but it is still training. And then I do a retreat for my leaders here, and that's, you know, an all expense paid retreat where I have like speakers and different leadership building activities for them to like literally come and like get poured into.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I accidentally muted her. She said thank you. Okay, so next I have Rianne. Rianne, do you have a question? No? Okay, that's fine. You don't have to. It's okay. Let's go to Desmona.
Hold up. Hey, Alena. One thing that I love about you is how you branded yourself. How everything about you ties in to what you post on social media. It's very clean. It says a lot about you. What tips would you give to somebody as far as branding themselves? Because, you know, for some of us, we do a lot of other things, and just trying to tie it all into one, you know, including, make sure that it works as included, but your brand is clear and fresh to people.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna turn my light on. It got dark in here. So I'm glad that you said that you have other things going on, because I was going to say that if you're just doing It Works, I feel like branding is kind of a waste of time. It doesn't really make you a lot of money with It Works. It only complicates things, because everyone in your downline wants to brand and get a website and get a logo and be this branded person. But like in It Works, that is the brand, you know? So we spent a lot of time in my early days trying to create branding, and I would do like seminars and try to teach it, but it's not duplicatable, you know? So I tell people all the time, like, you know, don't spend a lot of time or money trying to get branded, because at the end of the day, it's just going to make you lose money, because everybody in your team is going to think they have to do that. And we deal with that a lot on our team, because of course people like Ronnie, who is a serial entrepreneur, is the branding queen, and we all thought we had to be like that. And so I would also just make sure that, you know, you have a healthy balance between overly branding yourself and making sure that the things that you're doing as a leader are duplicatable. So when I talked about, you know, me taking it from where I was to where I am now, it really came from making sure that every single thing that I did, every tool that I did, for the most part, my team can do it too. So I just kind of want to put that disclaimer out there. But, you know, when it comes to tying it all together, I think that, you know, the exercise around like who is your avatar is essential, and that may change, but you know, for the most part, you want to know like who are the type of people that you want to attract. Like, what is the avatar of most of the people that are going to come into your business, that are going to buy your product, that are going to want to hear what you have to say, and then kind of reverse engineer the type of marketing that you're doing. And so that is kind of what I did, is just like wrote down a list of things that I think the people that, you know, have seemed to be interested in me are into, and I build everything around that, from my blog to the style that I post to certain terminologies, the pronouns that I use. Especially if you're building online, you know, that kind of stuff does become important. You know, and I think that it's just a message that you have to put out there to people. You know, from day one, before I started at work, I didn't have a family. I didn't have a man or kids. All I had was an iPhone app that I needed funding for. And so my biggest thing was, I know a million people out there that have ideas or have small businesses that need capital. And so I've always been transparent about it works being a vehicle to me, you know, being a serial entrepreneur. And so when you kind of have that message out there and you're consistent with it, and even when I do parties or when I talk to people, I share that, because a lot of people can relate to that. And say, oh yeah, there are other things I want to do. I want to start a t-shirt company. I want to open a restaurant. I want to do real estate. But, you know, my job is not going to allow me to do that right now. You know, and it's important for you to be able to show them how this can be a vehicle to that. You know, that's something that I think that we have mastered on our team, is being able to listen to the goals and the ideas of people, and then spin it to help them understand how this vehicle ties into that whole brand. So I think it's more essential when you have someone that has like a more established brand or influence or a blog or something, you know, when you're having a conversation with them, you are looking at the value that they've already created for themselves, and then you're putting together a picture of how that can be taken to the next level with the resources they can gain financially from this business, and how, you know, maybe their existing audience already kind of fits the avatar of It Works, and, you know, how that all comes together. So kind of bringing that story to life over coffee, or, you know, even in opportunity calls that are targeted. You know, sometimes we do calls that are specific to bloggers, or specific to teachers, or specific to fitness yoga instructors, or whatever, you know, and helping them to understand how to connect the dots. Because a lot of people, you know, have a lot of stuff going on, but they're still getting paid pennies on the dollar for their passion, you know. So it's like, it's really, really rare outside of maybe real estate, which if you're still in your beginning years, there is really nothing that pays the way that network marketing does. It just isn't there, especially for the amount of work you have to put in. Like, you can get big money on franchises, but you got to put in a lot of work. You got to manage the store. You got to work the field. But I can make, you know, a whole bunch of residual income and do nothing all month and be on maternity leave. There's no other industry like that. And so a lot of people that have multiple businesses and brands already, that's what they need to hear is, okay, for half the effort, you can make double the money. And let me show you how all of this comes together.
No, that's great. Basically, branding in a network marketing perspective, I guess, because I think that's one of the things that a lot of people that I meet, especially here in Europe, they have a misconception about network marketing. They just do. They really don't know, and they already have their nose turned up about it. All right, so let me see. Let's see. Where's Faye?
I'm here.
Hey.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Well, you know what? She touched on it, because she was, Alena, when you said about duplicating, and that's what I thought was interesting, is how what you created, you had it to where you could duplicate for the ones who are following you. And that's what it's kind of like having a plan and knowing how to pursue it and the steps to take, and that you can pass that on. And that's kind of where I'm stumbling right now for myself. I've just been going through a lot of stuff. So I've been reading or listening to the videos and going through some of the It Works training. So I've just been trying to take it in during this time frame. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I just thought it was interesting, because you did touch on my question when you talked about the duplication.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see. I have a feeling I know what Jessica's going to ask. She asks the same question on every call, but let's see. Let me see. I can't even unmute her. Oh my gosh, it's not working. Can you hear me?
24.
Jessica. Oh my gosh. Jessica.
I'm at the ER.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna put you back on mute. I'll ask your question. Can you mute it? It's not letting me mute. Okay. You mute? Hit mute. I don't know if it mute. Anyways, Jessica's my little sister. And she asked the same question. She's really consistent. She asks the same question every single time we do a leadership call. What is it that you advise about, or what's your tips about getting people to come to wrap parties? How often do you host wrap parties? What's your spin on it, and what works for you?
Well, that's a super loaded question. We did a 40-minute panel on that question. So there are many answers to that. So I'll touch on a couple of tips that we shared. I think that a lot of times the hardest part is getting people to wrap parties. And, you know, one of the things that we have found, surprisingly, to work for a lot of people is to actually pick up the phone and give like that personal invite, because when people get the mass text, when they get the Facebook invite, or even if they get a personal text, it doesn't feel like you really need them there. It just feels like, you know, they're just one of many, and it won't be noticeable if they're not there. So especially for new distributors, where it's so key that people show up so they can have like a little confidence in their experience, is to just simply, you know, pick up the phone, call your aunt, call your best friend and say, hey, you know, I just launched my new health and beauty business. You know, I've been told that, you know, the best way for me to learn about these products is to get an honest opinion from people that I trust. And so, you know, leave your wallets at home, come on out and just sample some of these products and let me know what you think. I would love for you to do that for me. You know, and when you're kind of asking them to show up for you because they love you, you know, I say a good wrap party is 5 to 8 people. Like, you don't need 20 or 30 people. And we know they're not going to really leave their wallets at home, you know, and it only takes that one person to wrap where everybody in the room is like, well, shoot, I want to try it too, you know, and they'll end up, you know, whipping out their wallet to do stuff and sample stuff. But even if you don't want to put all of those things out there, you can literally just kind of say, hey, I would love your support, you know, and if people can't make it that day, then have that person that can't make it host the next one for you. Like, I know you couldn't make it, and there were a couple of people that didn't. So it would be awesome if you could like host the next one for me whenever time permits for you. Because if they couldn't make your calendar, or maybe you can make it fit on their calendar. Another thing that I personally do is, you know, if people can't make my wrap party, then I offer to do a virtual party for all of the people that couldn't come to the in-person party. And I normally do my virtual parties on Zoom or on Facebook. In the event page, I'll go live and do a presentation. That way they don't have to leave their sofa. It's hard for them to kind of give me an excuse. And I tackle all the people that couldn't make it there. Another thing is, when I'm at the actual wrap parties, I go live at all my parties. So that means that, you know, if I'm launching a new distributor and they only have 1 or 2 people there and they're super discouraged, we still, you know, go live, and we just never have to show the crowd. And a lot of my girls end up getting customers just off of their live. Like, I had a girl who, she had only a few people at her first party, and we went live and did the Fat Fighter demonstration, and it sat on her timeline for weeks, and so many people saw the video. She ended up getting 20 customers in her first month just off of that post. So, you know, the win is not always in just a party, but a lot of times kind of in the follow-up to the people that you invited, etc. Me personally, I don't do a lot of personal wrap parties, and that's primarily because most of the time on the weekend I'm launching my personally enrolled local people. And I also spend a lot of time launching my girls over Zoom, because I have a lot of team that's not here with me. Personal parties, I've probably done 9 in my lifetime. Wow. So, you know, it's not like I don't have enough time to do my own parties, nor, you know, do I know a million people that want to host. So a lot of times if I'm, building a team, I'm just using their network. Like that's the value that new people add, is that they have new people. And so I bring my expertise to the table by going to their people and doing a party for them their first time so they can learn. Then so I can also close the customers to get the boxes filled, to get the promotion. What was the other part of the question?
I think you pretty much answered it. I just said, how often do you host wrap parties? And then 2, how do you get people to come? So yeah, you pretty much hit on that. The last thing I wanted to ask, I was waiting on somebody to message me back. I can't tell. Her little messenger thing is loading, so I'll see if she writes something back. But the last thing I wanted to add ask, this is what happens with a lot of leaders, to include myself. This is what I'm finding. And I think it was great that you said that your business rolls in seasons. In your experience, and I've had, you're like the 4th person that we've done in the past 2 months that's an ambassador, maybe even top 25. Like, we've heard from every single one, and all of them have expressed, like, there are people who come into your business at certain points and then they don't end up with you in the end. And you think they will be in the beginning because it just seems that way. How do you overcome when it looks like it all has just crumbled and I've had a diamond leader like go diamond and then disappear? So how do you handle that, or how do you adjust, or is it possible to recover from something as big as a diamond leg or an emerald leg, or even you yourself have made it all the way to diamond, then you look around and your whole team is gone? Is it possible, or what would you say would be something that would help overcome that?
Well, when it comes to overcoming stuff like that, personally, I feel like knowledge is power. And what I mean by that is, if you know that that is inevitable, like if every single person in the top 25 has experienced it, you can count on it happening to you too, right? When I read my first network marketing book, it was called How to Be a Network Marketing Superstar. And it talked about, how most of your team will leave. On my ambassador chart, there was maybe 4 people from my original diamond chart, and so me knowing that that's going to happen, when it does happen, does it hurt any less? No, because everybody thinks, oh, my team would never leave me, like to the end,
right.
So you have to realize that with people, life happens, like I have a lot of people on my team who have gone through divorces, that have gone through miscarriages, that have gone through depression, that have gone through job loss, domestic abuse, and am I supposed to stop life for everyone? No, but at the same time, my business has to go on. And so I think that knowing that helps you to take the pressure off of yourself of feeling like I'm doing something wrong. Because what I experience with a lot of leaders is that when things go wrong, they feel like it's something that they've done wrong. Or if things are not popping the way that they want to, they feel like it's something that they're doing wrong. And that's just not the case. And so I think that as a leader, you have to you have to give yourself some credit that a lot of this stuff has nothing to do with you, because many of it is just pure war wounds that we have to get. It's like tiger mark, stretch mark that we got to get to the top, because there are going to be so many people under us that need advice. They need to be poured into. They need to be loved on, and they have to hear from you that this happened to you too. Like I have my husband's cousin, she sat at diamond for almost 2 years before she went double, and she would see people come on my team, and they would go double left and right before her, and she was just like, what am I doing wrong? And I just kept trying to tell her that there's going to be a reason that we can't see that this is happening to you. I don't know if you guys know, but I went double diamond in 5 months, and in my 6th month, my entire double diamond team quit. 40 people on my team, never heard from them again. And a lot of that was my fault, because I was actually a very aggressive leader. Like I said, I came from investment banking, which is very cutthroat, and my managerial style was not what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to be coached and molded into a leader that really works with people, instead of being this dictator that I had kind of dealt with when I was in that industry. And those were growing pains. You know, I had to shift my business from being Alena focused to team focused, which really impacted how I talk to people, how I coach people, my patience and compassion for people. You know, a lot of people are ready for these leadership roles, but, you know, if you got it handed to you today, trust me, you would not know what to do with it. You know, as ambassador, there's so much on your shoulders. There's so many people that message me all day long. I'm sitting here doing a call with you. I never even met you before. You know what I mean? I have no reason to be on this call. It's not going to affect my check, but my purpose is greater than just my team. You know, I love what It Works has done for me. I will never stop talking about what this business has done for me, but I owe it to even Mark, Pam, Mike, because they have poured into me so much to make sure that people across the world are still experiencing a quality level of leadership and can do the same thing with their teams, right? And so a lot of the things that we go through in this business really are just so when we get to the top, we know how to deal with it. You know, like one of Fallon, once again, she was supposed to go ambassador last month. And I just had to have that hard moment with her of saying, it's not time, you know. And had I not gone through some stuff and seen certain things in promotions and seen people lose this and that, I wouldn't have had the authority, the experience, the words to say what I needed to say to her in that moment, you know. So you never know why, you know, why did my diamond fall apart? Why did that situation happen that caused drama? Why did that coachable moment come? Until, you know, 2 months later, 6 months later, when it becomes very clear to you, okay, that's why I went through it. And so when you know that, you become more accepting of it. Now, what I will say, you know, and what's going to take some of the burden off of you is that if you are, as a leader, being accountable for your own personal activity, so meaning at every single month you're doing the steps to success, you really don't have to worry about the people that are quitting, because the way that this business is built is you can still be successful if majority of your team quits. Because if you're still bringing in 3 people every single month and teaching them how to bring in 3 people every single month, even if 90% of those people turn over and come and leave out in the next 90 days, you will still have a solid team. Okay, so what that means is the way I can hedge my bets from the people that will guarantee quit and the people that will guarantee have issues is by continuing to recruit. Okay, so a lot of my leaders that struggle really bad in maintaining and rebuilding and all that stuff that we hate to deal with, their main issue is that they're not bringing in new blood. At minimum, you need to be bringing in 3 people at minimum, you know, because that always gives you someone to work with. That always gives you people to be around that have excitement and hope and high energy. You know, if you're still working with the same 6 people, you know, from 2 years ago that are just as jaded as you, guess what? Y'all gonna all stay at the bottom together. But if you're constantly bringing in new blood that gets you excited about the possibility, you know, like here I am 4 years and I'm still on my toes about new and exciting ideas, because I work with new people every single month. Like my coaching is not with the same 20 people that I've been with since 2013. Every single month it's new people that I'm talking to. So it never feels the same. So, you know, if you're constantly building, you don't have to worry about a diamond chart falling apart, because you've already built more than enough people to have a whole new diamond chart.
Right.
You know, like I tell people all the time, don't waste your time on a ruby, you know, coaching and trying to beg one ruby, because you can go and blitz somebody tomorrow and they're so excited about the business that before they even get their kit, they tell you, they ask you to get on a Zoom with 5 of their friends sign up, and now you have a whole new ruby chart in 24 hours versus the 24 months you've been trying to drag the same ruby, you know. So new blood is always better than pulling someone who's not ready to take it to the top with you.
Amazing. Like, I needed that. You don't understand. Like, I really needed that. And I think that's really important, because I can definitely say for the last maybe 3 or 4, not even 3 or 4 months, maybe the last 6 months up until recently, maybe the last 2 recently, I got so caught up on me personally, get so caught up on the next promotion and the old chart, instead of understanding, honestly, at the end of the day, you can be a double diamond making triple diamond money, you know, like, and I think that me personally, because I'm competitive and I'm like, I'm just competitive, like 100%. I gotta win. You know, at the end of the day, if I'm not winning, I'm losing, and I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the title instead of what I should be bringing in to get this money, to take care of my family. You know, so I think I just really shifted my focus, and it's really good that you said that, because it's just confirmation too for me to understand that, you know, I am, you know, I am on the right track. Let's see. Okay, so I did have one person. We got 4 minutes, so I have one person that did message me her question. She said that she's actually new, and she wants to know, typically, in your experience as a leader, how long does it usually take for your new distributors to get their business to take off? And which products would you say definitely you need to have on hand for something like a wrap party? Now, I've done how to host a wrap party with just your kit. I've done that training, but I think it would be good to hear from you too. You know, what are you telling your new people when they're very first started? And what's your expectation? And we kind of talked about it earlier, but just she might have missed it when you said it.
I would honestly say, on average, for people to really like start seeing some decent money, or even really hit diamond, on average on my team, it takes a good year. You know, it works. I always says give us a year. Even my girls that go diamond in 90 days, to build a strong diamond check or a strong double diamond, it takes them a good year. Out of the year, I may have one rock star, maybe. You know, every year I'd even have a rock star, but in the last 2 years, it's been one rock star per year, meaning like they're going triple and above, you know, in 6 months or something like that. So yeah, most people start seeing, you know, success that they too can believe in within a year. So I love that saying that they used to always say, give us a year to change your life. You know, for wrap parties, all you need is wraps. And honestly, you don't even need that, because you have before and after pictures to show people. So it kind of depends on your audience. Like, if you know the people that are there and they're going to trust your word just because of who you are and your influence, and they just trust you because you're their family member and you wouldn't lie to them. You know, like I said, I've had girls who signed up multiple customers before they got their kit just off showing them my pictures. Like, hey, this is this girl. She's right here on the line with you. These are her pictures. She can share her results with you, or they've sent, you know, pictures over the phone. So a lot of people get their first 4 customers, you know, in 24 to 48 hours just off of pictures and personal testimonies. But then when you actually bring people in person, I would say definitely, you know, try to have some wraps there, because the party is really for those people who are just unsure if, you know, how or why this thing works. You know, it's one of those things that you just can't explain. If they have a million questions, they just got to see it for themselves. And that's why you have the party, is to make them believers through their experience. So I would definitely say to have wraps. And then, you know, as you grow your inventory, or if you personally are helping to launch one of your people and you have more product, I would definitely do the fat fighter demonstration. I would have them sample the greens. And yeah, that's probably my main things that people are interested in wrap parties.
Okay, perfect. Jocelyn, did you have something else you wanted to ask really quick?
Yes, I did. Okay, so I've been in the business and end of June, it'll be going on 2 years. So I started, never hit the promotions, and then I didn't sign any distributors either. So now I'm at a place where I still didn't hit these promotions. I did sign a DT, so I'm like encouraging myself, because yeah, I did sign one. What do you say to maybe your team members who aren't hitting, or, you know, I've been having rap events, I've been doing vendor parties, vendor events and rap parties, blitzing. So like I've took myself basically on a whole nother level with my business. What do you say, I guess, to encourage, or, you know, your team, they're not hitting those promotions, or if basically they're finding DTs?
Well, I mean, this question is always, it depends on the person, honestly, because most of the time, if I'm auditing one of my team members who like, Alena, I've done everything, which sounds like what you're saying, which I don't know anything about your business, but if they're telling me they've done everything and they've not seen any success, Most of the time they're lying. They haven't done everything. And, you know, I'm not even saying that you're lying, but what I'm saying is that we normally will go through an audit of what they're doing, because I could have a team member that messages people, that hosts parties, that posts on Instagram, but the way in which in which they're doing it is super salesy, it's super spammy, it's non-personal, it's annoying. And so it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, no wonder people aren't signing, because your Facebook page looks a mess or your message sounded ridiculous, you know. And so I normally use that as a coachable moment to show them how I would reword certain things, to do maybe some three-way calls where I can hear how they're trying to close people, if they're over talking people. You know, there's so many elements that you could be doing everything, but doing everything in a way that is not successful. You know, I have people host parties all the time. Like, I had a girl and I went to her party, and instead of using the party pad notes, which if you're hosting a party and you're not sticking to the script, then you're missing opportunity to close everybody. You know, when you freestyle out a party, you killing yourself, because a lot of times you're over talking people, you're telling them alternative facts about the product. Like, she was telling them something about defining gel, and I was just like sitting there cringing, like, that is so wrong. Like, where did you get that from? You know? So I think it's just like, the party pad notes are there. The party pad is there. Like, you should just be pointing, turning, using the tools, using the scripts that the company gives us, so that you're not making up your own stuff. You know, a lot of people, when they send text messages, the text messages just sound like, you know, salesy, like a infomercial. It's not personal. Also, a lot of people, if they're struggling, they haven't really truly invested in their own product journey. So like, I've had people where their family members are like, I haven't bought from her, because I may ask like, hey, you know, what's been, you know, keeping you from buying? And I have somebody straight up tell their sister, like, I haven't bought from you because you're the same weight that you were a year ago. So those products don't seem to work, you know. So if you're not really showing people that they work through your personal results, that could be a hindrance. Like, if you are on and off again with your business, I mean, like, you post sometimes, but then you may go 3 weeks without posting. It's stagnant. So it's like so many different things. I don't know if that's personally, you know, your situation, but I would definitely, you know, encourage your upline or whoever to really have like a true heart to heart to say, hey girl, I can see your love for the business and your passion for the business and your consistency, but these are the few things that we can kind of alter, because you're like a little rough around the edges, and you know, it's coming off this way, which may be the cause for people being resistant to join you. But then, to my point earlier, it could just be you're building your influence, you know, especially if you're doing stuff online. You know, if people don't know you, the person, right, and all they see, it works, and you have not built influence yet, you may need to switch your messaging to more of making it more about you. So like, I have this 80-20 rule with my distributors when it comes to this business, is 80% of the stuff that you share should be about Alena, the person, and 20% is a call to action around your business. Hey, hop on this call. Hey, click this website, kind of thing. But they're clicking it not because of that particular post. They're clicking it because they've liked you all the other 80% of your posts, where you're talking about your family, your faith, the books that you're reading, the foods that you like, the places that you've traveled, which in some way made you relatable to them, which is why they started following you or engaging you anyway. And because they now kind of trust what your opinion is, because you voiced it or you've expressed it, or they like your captions, or they like the way that you talk or your humor, now they feel like you're a person that they trust enough to learn more about the product. So a lot of times it can be that you just pushing the product too much and nobody really knows who you are to actually want to buy from you versus the next It Works girl.
Okay. She said, thank you. Sorry, Jocelyn, my computer is acting like it's going to restart. Can I just give one more reason? It's confidence. And I know she didn't say that, but I know you and I've been with you, and it's confidence. Like, that really, a lot of people don't realize it. It goes a long way. It goes a long, long way, because you can be doing as much work as possible, but if you don't even really seem sure, then the other person might not buy into what you're saying too. So,
And another thing that I've actually experienced is people pretending to be confident, but internally they're not confident. And what you have to realize is that thoughts become things. And even if you appear super excited and confident, but in your mind, you're working in fear. And that's something that I've done. Like when I lost my double diamond, you know, nobody knew that I had lost my confidence in my business because I was still posting the same way with the same confidence and the same But when I would go to sleep at night, I would be thinking, man, this junk ain't gonna work, you know? And so it's like you also have to change your thoughts, because that happened with my downline. Like every night I'll be like, man, my downline is trash. My team they so slow. They, you know, and I was not speaking life into them. So you got to change your thoughts just as much as your actions, because all of that stuff comes back the same.
Perfect. Well, Alena, we won't hold you any longer. We really appreciate you sharing with us. I know this was across the, you know, line. We're not even sideline, cross line, nothing line. But you definitely poured into us tonight, and it was valuable. It's much appreciated, and I thank you for that. Like I said, I've been watching you since forever. I don't even know when the first time I even started. I know I saw you in Atlanta a year or two ago, and when you said that what happened with your business was you took the focus off of yourself and you started to focus on your team, and that's when you started to see things happen. That was the biggest aha moment of that entire One Team, One Mission for me. And from that point forward, I was just like, okay, she's got something going here. So I appreciate you. And I know my team is really appreciative of you sacrificing your time and investing in us. So we thank you, and we'll continue to follow, and I'll talk to everyone else later.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.